Hey everybody, David the AI Guide here. Happy Sunday. And first, thanks so much to all the subscribers. We crossed the 100 subscriber mark over the weekend, and I'm really grateful to all of you. Be sure to follow us also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we're going to be using those platforms more and more over 2021. And especially Instagram, which we haven't used so much yet. That'll get really more in gear, but a lot of stuff continuing on Twitter and Facebook as well. So thanks to all of you, and thanks for your comments. I will be getting back to you very, very shortly on your comments this week. And today we're going to talk about ecology. So ecology is the study of distribution of species over space and time. So we're talking about all the living organisms on Earth, and we're talking about where they live and when they live, whether it's now or previous periods. Other disciplines focus on the past, right? Archaeology, anthropology, both social and physical, dig up fossils and study the past. But ecology is really more focused on the here and now and why changes are being seen in the number of species and distribution of species and where those species are. And this is a really interesting area to study if you're inclined to do that. So anyone who is still in school may want to look into this, because this is a scientific discipline that is starting to converge with AI. And the results are very, very interesting. So one of the techniques that current ecologists in academia are using is called evolutionary regression. And what this does is look at the distribution of species over time, for example. So they might look at a Pacific island and how it starts with a volcano peaking above the surface of the water with no life on it. And then as it grows and as the volcano starts to settle down, you see life starting to grow on these planets, blown by the wind in the form of seeds and plants initially, but eventually insects that travel by boat or by air currents, and then eventually people. But one of the interesting things that they see, and they knew the answer to this, but they used this evolutionary regression to study exactly how species are distributed over the age of one of these Pacific islands. So one of the things that's interesting is that well into maturity, these Pacific islands start to erode and eventually disappear back into the sea over millions of years. This is a very long process that's being evaluated. And very complex, because there's a lot of different things that are interacting to produce the results. That's one of the reasons ecology is so complicated, is because you've got billions of species interacting with each other, plus all the environmental factors going on. So when they ran the linear regression, they saw that, as you might expect, the number of species on these islands peaks in the middle life of the island, so not at the beginning, not at the end, but at the time when the islands are most fertile and serious erosion hasn't started yet. So this is a validation of a theory by an algorithm. And scientists are going to be relying on AI to do this more and more and more often. Why? Because the data needed for a human, as we've talked about a bunch of times, to come to this kind of a conclusion is limited by nature because one human being can only absorb so much information. And AI doesn't have that restriction. So looking at millions of examples, the AI can be used by the scientists to confirm or disprove theories. And in the case of these Pacific Islands, it proved it. But one of the things that they're looking into now, which is very interesting as well, is why do some areas of Earth have more species, more living organisms than others? Well, some of those are environmental, right? There's more species living in warmer climates than in cold climates. So at the poles, there's way fewer living organisms because the conditions are so harsh. Another example might be the rainforest, where life is truly abundant, versus the middle of the Sahara Desert, where the extreme dryness limits the capability of organisms to adapt and thrive. So ecology is very, very complicated, as you can tell from this discussion, and they need to rely on AI to look at vast data sets regarding data picked up about environmental changes and the impact on living organisms and how living organisms migrate and group and rely on each other. All of this works together in the study of ecology. So for those of you thinking about a new career, or you've finished college and you're wondering what you can do, there's a lot of ways to get involved here, right? You can get involved in helping the academics do the on-field research, right? So you're paid to go out into the field and take samples and collect data that the scientist needs. Somebody has to do it. They don't have time to do it all, and they're paying people every day to do this. Another example, of course, is learning AI programming, which there's a bunch of courses that I've referred some of you to, and contributing to the study of a science like ecology by building specialized algorithms to assist the study of that particular science, and evolutionary regression is one of those. So that's about it for today. Today's news comes courtesy of Science Daily, which is a great publication. I highly recommend it. They have amazing stuff that's going on every single day. And you got to understand something. Look up Peter Diamandis. He, on one of his YouTube videos, was explaining that he looked up in 1918 what the big breakthroughs were in the world in terms of new discoveries, and there were two. One of them is the little packet that goes in food or vitamins and stuff like that to absorb moisture. There was two. There are now hundreds a day discoveries. That is the power of exponential change right there. From 100 years ago, when two new things were discovered a year, to today, when hundreds or thousands of new things are discovered every year. Thousands, I'm going to say. Truly mind-boggling. And it's only going to get faster and faster and faster as computing power continues to increase and AI continues to become more and more sophisticated and specialized into these research applications. So I hope you like this video. This is a new subject we've never talked about. Ecology is a division of biology. And again, lots of interesting things are going to be coming up soon. And I will be telling you more about that shortly. Thanks a lot. Take care. Have a great rest of the weekend.